Now, I want to touch on one other issue here. It's very close to my heart, and that is the Hurricane Helene. It has decimated, devastated huge swaths of the South, including, interestingly enough, red states: Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee. Now, North Carolina has been particularly hard hit, but the rural parts, those are Republican voters. You know what they offered? You know what the Democratic regime in Washington, the Biden-Harris administration offered? $750, just like they did in Maui. That'll get you groceries for maybe a week or two for a family of 4, if you can find a grocery store. These people are, in some cases, being they've tied their children up in trees. And the Biden administration doesn't give a damn about this because they're not their voters. A lot of them are scared if they manage to survive, if they live through this catastrophe, are they going to be able to vote? Because they won't have ID. Maybe they lost their ID and they lost their homes. But illegals can vote. And there's lots of money for illegals to set them up in apartments, set them up in hotels, give them thousands of dollars in credit cards. Lots of money for illegals in the United States. Lots of money. Listen to retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, who was briefly National Security Advisor for President Donald Trump, talk about the reality. This is shocking. I saved this for last. Don't miss this. This is about a 4-minute clip, but it is shocking. General Flynn says the death toll is not 200 and a bit. It's going to possibly rise to over 2,000. And the Biden administration is doing nothing about it.
North Carolina, there's over 1,000 dead that have been confirmed to me with just the body bags that have been filled. There are insufficient numbers of body bags, so there are dead bodies lying aside, and this is mainly up in North Carolina, that is already pushing over 1,000. My guess is that by the time we look at all of what has happened, we're going to be probably somewhere around 2,000 or north of 2,000 dead people. There are still people caught up in the hills of North Carolina and eastern Tennessee that their towns were completely wiped out. They're totally isolated. Homes are gone. And one of the things I want people to understand is that one of the things that you consider for humanitarian disaster recovery and relief operations, one of the first things you look at is the terrain and the weather conditions that are impending, right? So at nighttime right now up in the mountains of North Carolina, I'm very familiar with this area. I've trained up in there. I've been up in there many times in my experiences in the military, especially at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I won't call it the other name, but Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which I will talk to in a second here with the potential deployment of other resources that the government has. So the weather conditions right now are wet. They are, because it's misty at nighttime, it rains at night. We're looking at weather temperatures that are in the low 30s. And in another week or two, certainly by the end of this month, we're going to start to see freezing conditions, possibly even an early snow in the mountains of North Carolina, where these people are still walking around with nothing. So because I want to talk about what types of resources need to be brought to bear and the things that I know that are being done. So the big picture is we're going to probably be north of 2,000 dead. We have at least 150 counties, maybe 200 counties from northern Florida all the way up into western North Carolina that are in this disaster zone. The federal government has done nothing. One other strategic component here, Benny, and for your audience, when they talk about FEMA's out of money or the federal government's out of money, first of all, it's our money. So never forget that, folks. Secondly, our government has disaster recovery response funds, and Congress, and now I'm talking directly to Speaker Johnson, right? Congress can reallocate funds. So funds that are being allocated overseas to some other crazy endeavor that we don't need to be part of, they can reallocate funds with one simple vote. And actually, it's the Speaker of the House that can do that. So I don't want people to go, well, FEMA's out of money, the government's out. No, first of all, it's our money. And the Speaker of the House has the authority to be able to reallocate from one line item to another line item, especially for disaster recovery in the United States of America. And the president of the United States can do it with a stroke. It doesn't even take a pen. It could just be direct these funds to go to that effort immediately. The second thing is the president of the United States has the full authority to call out and federalize the National Guard. Okay. And we probably are looking at a division's worth of capabilities that we need. So an Army division's worth of capabilities. So that's roughly somewhere between 15 and 20,000 personnel from that we can get from the National Guard right now, with all of the logistics, all of the communications, all of the tonnage, all of the what they call mobile kitchen trailers. I mean, for food. I mean, we can do water purification. The little numbers that have been sent, I think it's 1,000 from the Fort Bragg area, and there's like another 500. This is just in North Carolina. We need a full mobilization right now, and I'm serious about this. If you sprinkled fairy dust on me today and put me in charge, we would have an entire active duty division, because the active duty division, more than the National Guard has to come in. They got to go through all kinds of processes. They don't respond as quickly. So the 82nd Airborne Division, which is a 3-hour drive from the Western Hills of North Carolina, not like, a day or two to get there. They have capabilities that can be there literally in 2 hours, 4 hours, 24 hours. And I'm talking about large packages of the full complement of everything that Nick was just talking about.
So that is absolutely shocking. That is absolutely shocking what is happening here. Do you feel like you're living in a dystopian novel right now, where you've got the House of Commons ground to a halt and nobody wants to talk about it in the mainstream media? Not happening. Not real. Justin Trudeau flies off to a Francophone summit in the midst of this. Huge corruption. Blatant, flagrant corruption going on with this Liberal government. Justin Trudeau doesn't want to talk about it because he doesn't do politics in the United States. Joe Biden doesn't do politics either, but he doesn't save the lives of anybody. He sat on the beach on his fat behind throughout this entire first weekend of Hurricane Helene. He did nothing. He sends his vice president, the Democratic presidential candidate, Kamala Harris, down to have a look. She gets a photo op and promptly goes home and offers $750 for your trouble, folks. That's the state of politics today. It is enough to make you puke. It's enough to make you say there's something wrong with them. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, folks. Don't listen to Justin Trudeau. We need this kind of attitude in Canada right now, because let me tell you, Justin Trudeau will fight tooth and nail to stay as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada, and he will use every trick in the Liberal handbook to do that. So we have to be vigilant, and we have to have perseverance to fight this battle to the end. As I've been saying since this station went on the air, we need to resolve to resist. And we need to fight for our free speech and our democratic rights to say what we believe, to speak, as John Diefenbaker said. And don't forget that t-shirt that's available out there in the store. I speak as a free Canadian, free to speak, free to believe in what I choose. And Justin Trudeau is not going to interfere with that. Thanks for being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right Resistance, and we'll see you again soon.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need to resolve to resist.